Good morning. Hello, I'm Victoria Wills, and I'm here at Lane Arts Council, and today we're moving into lesson 2 of Build Your World with Paper. Today's lesson, we are going to be designing and creating fauna for your world. So today we're going to be creating animals. We'll be doing that out of cardboard and some coloring materials. So let's begin. I invite you to sit up tall in your chair and lengthen your spine. And we're going to have a moment of gentle movement. Let's take one hand and place it on your heart, and take your other hand and place it at the base of your sternum. Your sternum is the bone that all of your ribs are attached to. So that's right here. So hand over your heart, hand over your sternum, and we're going to take breaths. We're going to breathe in for 4 counts, and we'll breathe out or exhale for 6 counts, and we'll do that 3 times. So when we're breathing in, let's lift our hands from our chest a little bit, and then when we breathe out, let's bring our hands back down. And when we're doing that, that helps us feel the rhythm of our movement. When we are peaceful, when our minds are peaceful, we can be the most creative. And when our bodies feel energized, we can do our best work. So what we're going to do with this moment is try to generate some peace and some energy inside of us. So, all right, ready position, and begin to inhale. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Last time. Inhale. 2, 3, 4. Exhale. 3, 4, 5, 6. All right. Let's take our arms and extend them to your sides. Try not to bump into the wall. I'm going to move over a little bit. Stretch your fingers out so that you're sending energy out your fingers, and feel like your arms are even extending out of the shoulder sockets, and your elbows are lengthening and your wrists are lengthening, and every joint in your hand is getting longer and stretchier, and you're feeling some energy shooting out your fingertips. Bring that energy in toward you and bring it all the way in, and give yourself a big hug, a big energy hug. Let's do that one more time. Stretching your arms out, stretching fingers, wrists, elbows, shoulders, even your ribs, and shooting energy out your fingers. Bring the energy back in toward yourself and give yourself another big energy hug. Shake your arms out, and we're ready to begin. What we're going to do today, as I explained, is that we're going to be making 3D animals that inhabit the world that you're creating. And yesterday you had a chance to select the biome that you're interested in sharing with your artwork. And maybe you had a chance to do a little bit of research to see who lives there. Right now, what we're going to do to start to move into our art making is we're going to brainstorm a little bit and think about what animals would live in your biome by thinking about what the environment is like. What are the challenges that an animal might have who lives there? And what are the adaptations that they would have developed over time in response to those challenges? And in doing so, try to narrow down what the animal or animals are that you're going to create. So let's gather our materials, and here's what we have. We have a cereal box, and that we'll use for our cardboard. We have a graphite pencil, some paper, and drawing materials. And here I have markers and colored pencils and wax crayons. To start out with, we only need our graphite pencil. And we can either make a list of what the challenges are in your environment, or we can make a mind map, or both. See what works for you. So let's start out, for example, with a mind map. And just so that you can see it on the camera, I'm going to use a marker to do my mind map with. I would suggest that you use a pencil. It's easier to make smaller letters, and if you need to do or want to do any erasing, it's easier. It's possible with a pencil. So I'm going to put my pencil to the side, but I'm using a marker for that reason. If you are making a list, then you might write the name of your biome up at the top and write maybe some of the challenges that are present in your biome. So, for example, I'm thinking about the savanna, which is a flat, grassy area with trees and high heat, low humidity, and only seasonal water, large animals. So I'm going to, you'll write the name of your biome, and then you might write some of those challenges. For example, dry climate, grasses. Over here, I'm going to make an example of mind map. So again, write the name of my biome. So I'm choosing to mind map about the savanna. We get a circle around that center point, and then the challenges. So dry climate. What might go with a dry climate? What kind of animal would survive, and what might they have developed to adapt to that condition? Maybe I'm thinking of the animal I'm thinking of in particular needs to hunt for its food. So what does that animal need in order to be a really good hunter? It would need to be fast, a fast runner. And what would it need to be a fast runner? It would need maybe good muscles. It would need to have well-developed musculature. Long legs would help. So I'm just continuing those thoughts. I like to draw circles around mine. You don't have to. I just do that to sort of contain my thoughts. So here's an example of mind map, and you can just continue thinking of different ideas. Maybe your animal is a prey animal that's going to be hunted, so it might need to hide from predators. I have messy writing. That's okay, I can read it. Hide from predators. So what would help my animal hide from predators? Maybe camouflage. Okay, what kind of animals would fit this description? So here I'm thinking a cheetah. A cheetah would fit that description. And then this is what we're doing. We continue to think dry climate. What's an animal that maybe doesn't require a lot of water in its diet? And for example, desert rat doesn't require a lot of water. It gets the water that it needs from its seeds. So I will write that down. When you're making a mind map, there is no wrong answer, because what you're doing is brainstorming, and you're using this mind map as your very own tool. So you can really feel free to just place what your thoughts are right down here on your mind map. Okay, so I have selected a cheetah. I'm going to circle that because, as I said, that's what I like to do. And now that I've selected an animal, and you've selected an animal, I'd like you to take a mental snapshot of that animal, screen grab it, and let's sketch the animal. Keeping in mind that we're going to be making a 3D. We have one dimension that we can measure this way, another dimension we can measure up and down, side to side, horizontal and vertical. So this is two-dimensional. When we work in 3 dimensions, we go that way too. We've got another measurement. So the dimensions talk about areas that we can measure. And what do you think the 4th dimension would be? It would be time. Okay, so we're going to start by making a sketch of our animal. I have chosen to make a 3D representation of a cheetah. You might find it really helpful to Google your animal to have a little help in drawing it, because you may not have a cheetah or whatever your animal is standing right in front of you. You might not have a mental picture of what that animal looks like, and it can be really helpful to Google it and see it in some different positions and decide how you want to make that happen. So I'm going to start by just sketching my animal, and I'm going to try to make sure that my animal has some of the distinguishing features that identify that animal. So that's what you want to do. You want to think, what are the things that, if there's a symbol for this animal, what would I need to show? So I'm thinking, well, cheetahs have spots. What is it about the outline? Because what we need here is the outline, the characteristic shape of your animal. So I would need a long tail. And as I had brainstormed, I would need long legs and a strong musculature, because those muscles in the front, in the pectoral area of the cheetah, help it run so fast. So I would need to show that. And so I'm going to draw a side view, and that's what I would recommend, is that you draw a side view of your animal, because that's what we're going to need for the 3D representation that we'll be making today. So this cheetah might turn out to look like a cow, or even, I think it looks a little bit like a seal. I'm just drawing its torso, and then I'm going to draw its long tail just as an outline. And I'm realizing that you might not be able to see what I'm drawing, because the light from the dot cam might be shining on the graphite of the pencil and making a reflection. So I'm going to choose to draw this again with some marker. There's my body shape. And then the cheetah has some really long legs that come out. So I'm drawing this as if I'm about to cut it out. So I'm thinking this is not really the way a cheetah's legs look, but when we're making art, we are doing what we call a stylized drawing. So this is not 100% representational. And so here I have my outline for my cheetah, and I'm drawing it as if I were going to cut it out. But this would be our next step, to sketch your animal. After we sketch the animals, we're going to get that image onto our cardboard box. Now, one thing that you can do is you can, if you have a drawing that is the side view, you can cut that out and use that as the pattern to trace onto your cardboard box. Okay, and there we go. So let's move on to taking apart and opening our cardboard box now that we have the animal drawn. I'm just going to put this over here for a moment and show you the technique for taking apart the cardboard box. Okay, here's our cardboard. It has a top and a bottom, and what we need to do is gently open the cardboard up. So what I do is I slide my finger in, and I keep sliding the finger to the side. I know we often want to just pull it up like that, but this will really help it open the most easily. I'm finding the opening again, so I peel it a little bit, but then I get my finger under there. You can also, if you'd like, open it by sliding a scissor along. So now I have my box open. I take out the cereal, eat it later. And all I need to do is find the one more seam, the other place that the box is glued. And I see that right here. So again, I'm sliding my finger under. And if your box starts to tear on one end, then just go to the other end and start opening it from there. So my box did not start to tear, so I'm just going to keep opening it from here. And you know, if it does tear, that's okay. This part doesn't need to look pretty. We really are just using this center part. So now look at what we have. We have this fabulous cardboard that we're all ready to use. And you can, as I said, either draw your animal right here, the side view, or you can use your drawing that you've made and cut this out and use it for a pattern. I am going to, here's an example of a pattern. Let's back up. So here I did draw this on a piece of paper, and this can be used to cut out and use as a pattern that you can trace around. There, maybe you can see that a little better. You can use it as a pattern to trace around and then get your pattern the way you want it onto your cardboard. I'm going to use this just to demonstrate how you would do that. And when you're drawing on your cardboard, when you're tracing around something, think about holding it where you're holding it. Hold it in the center away from where your hand needs to be tracing. So I'm holding it and making sure that I'm not tracing so hard that I'm moving it. And then notice when I come over here, I'm not gonna awkwardly move my drawing instrument underneath. Instead, I'll move my hand and come around from the other side. So that's what I want you to think of. Notice I'm moving my hand to the other side. Sometimes we forget that we can do that, and it helps you do your best work, and it also helps you keep from getting a cramp. Okay, so I've traced around my animal. Now let's back up a little bit, because what we need, when you make your animal into a 3D animal, what you need is the side view, and then you also need the legs. With animals like a cheetah or a dog, a cat, animals that run on 4 legs, we can make their legs in an upside down U shape. You can make the animal and think of it in terms of a giant rectangle. And as I said, the legs in a U shape. And here's an example of that cut out. There's the animal, and there are the legs in a U shape. So what I'd like you to do is just take a moment to draw your animal and then draw those legs. And I'm going to cut out this animal here that's already been traced onto this cardboard. When you're cutting out things from anything, from cardboard, fabric, or paper, make it easy on yourself by cutting your area that you're working with, cutting it smaller so that you can work with it more easily. I'm going to cut this smaller one more time, and notice I stopped cutting in one direction and I came around from the other to the other direction. I'm going to start with the legs, and I'm going to start by cutting inside of this U so I can demonstrate another cutting technique. So I'm doing my best to cut along the lines. And when I get into the center here, instead of turning my wrist like that, I'm going to back my scissor up and come back in from the other side. And that way I have more control and it's less awkward. And showing that one more time, I'm cutting, and when it becomes difficult to keep my wrist in a position that works efficiently, I back up and I come in from the other side. So go ahead and cut out your cardboard. And here I'm going to do the same, cut it to make it smaller and more manageable. And I accidentally cut off one of its toes, but that's okay because this is art and we like to let art surprise us. And then we have something different to work with. So I'm just going to make the ankle a little bit smaller so I can bring that toe back. Okay. Cut out this one. Cutting out my U-shaped legs. Okay. So I will not demonstrate cutting this out because you get the general idea. Moving this to the side. So after we cut out our animal completely, we're going to add color and details. What I'd like to do first is show you a few examples of other animals that you can make. When we assemble this animal, we're going to make it three-dimensional by having it stand on top of these legs, like this. And the animal's legs will act as if they are the legs of a chair because they'll go in this direction and provide 4 balance points for this animal. Things only need 3 points to balance on, so one leg is actually lifted off of the ground and it's balancing on 3. There's the upside down U version of the animal. If you're making something like a creature that lives in the water, for example, a marine mammal, here's a whale that I've made, you can use parts such as the fins to give it balance. And so that would give us the 3 points touching. I've made these fins in the shape of a little arch, and they'll fit in here. And so the 3 points touching would be the ends of the fin and then the tail of the whale. I've also added this fin that's a little mustache shape. And here is a crocodile. If you're making a lower lying, shorter animal, you can use an M shape for the legs. And they'll fit in. So let's move up to, now that we've got our animal cut out, you can add color. Think about what the colors are that you'll need. Also think about how you can work with ideas like lines, how you can do different sorts of lines, like lines in one direction, lines that maybe change direction and cross over each other to add texture to your animal. Maybe you want your animal has fins, or it has scales or feathers. You can show the direction of the fur if it has curly hair or spots by varying the way that you're coloring on your animal. So you can use your drawing materials and add some color, and the different drawing materials work differently. If you have more than one, I can see that, yeah, the pencils are giving a nice coverage. I like to blend colors, and when we're blending colors, when we're using one color on top of another, then we can get interesting variations that might make it look more like fur or make it look more like the sunlight is on it and give it the idea of shadow and light. So color your pieces in. If you have different drawing materials, you can also experiment with using with using more than one thing on your coloring method. Okay, let's assemble our animal. Decide where your legs need to go. And when you've decided where your animal's legs need to go, where they would fit the best and where they're not so close together that they won't help it stand, we're going to make 2 cuts. 1 cut in each place that you want to put the animal's legs, and make the cut about a pinky wide. So you don't have to make it very, very deep, but it needs to be deep enough so that we can insert the legs into that cut. So I'm going to pick up my legs, hold the legs carefully so that you don't accidentally bend them, and then press them inside so that they're in all the way. So I'm going to do this again. Press them inside. What if you do bend them? You can do things like use a piece of tape to hold it back together, or glue an extra piece of cardboard onto there. There, so I've got both my legs in, and I'm going to stand up my animal. Okay, and so there it is. So my cheetah is assembled and ready to go. And if you, here was the little crocodile assembled with its legs fitted in there. I could choose if I wanted to put them more close up to the front or the back. I chose to locate where I thought the shoulder area might be and start with that. And then the whale is balancing on those fins. And there are the flukes that fit in also. And on here, this is an example of blending colors. So I used gray and blue and white and blended them with my finger. Always think about that. Think about how you can experiment with your art materials to make it look different. Because really, by experimentation, that's how you learn. And you're the artist. You get to choose to make those decisions. So let's just take another moment and sit back and go over in your mind what you did today, starting at the beginning where we did some brainstorming and we thought about the environment and then what your animal might need to live in that environment and survive. And then we moved on to making a sketch and drawing a pattern on the cardboard box that we opened, to coloring, adding color and details, and assembling your animal. Think of one thing that you did today that you learned, a technique or a choice that you made that you feel really good about, that you accomplished. Take that choice and just breathe it in. Keep that with you. Exhale. And remember that feeling of success that you had when you carried that choice through to completion. Today, it would be great, or when you finish, maybe you have needed to pause the video and go back and do some more work on your animal so that you're really making sure that you're doing your best work. Also, you're welcome to make other animals now that you know how to do some 3D design. Make sure that when whatever it is that you've made today, when your animal or animals are finished, that you tell somebody about it. If you can show an adult mentor, tell them about what you did, and maybe even share that piece that you made that you felt really, really successful about. And let them know about art making and see what other kinds of things you can make in 3D. Between today and the next lesson, we're going to be working with the flora of your world. So research what kinds of plants are growing in your biome, in your region, in your world, and also what are the environmental challenges, what are the survival strategies that those plants might have needed to develop to live there. All right, thank you so much, and I look forward to working with you again next time. Bye.